The blood-red sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow across the churning crimson seas. Captain Vivian stood at the helm of her ship, the Scarlet Banshee, her alabaster skin gleaming in the fading light. Her eyes, once a vibrant green, now shimmered with an otherworldly ruby hue as she gazed out at the vast expanse of the sanguine ocean. The Crimson Maw loomed in the distance, a colossal whirlpool of swirling blood that both terrified and enticed those who dared to sail these treacherous waters. Finn, her loyal quartermaster, approached with measured steps. "Captain," he said, his voice low and gravelly, "the crew grows restless. It's been weeks since our last raid, and our blood stores are running low." Vivian nodded, her long raven hair whipping in the iron-scented wind. She understood their plight all too well, the gnawing hunger that clawed at their insides, the primal urge to feed that grew stronger with each passing day. But she had brought them this far, and she would see them through. Below deck, Ash, the ship's carpenter, worked tirelessly to reinforce the hull. The blood-soaked waters had a corrosive effect on wood, and constant maintenance was crucial to their survival. His weathered hands moved with practiced precision, his own thirst momentarily forgotten in the focus of his labor. In the galley, Faye, the ship's diplomat, pored over ancient maps and legends, searching for any clue that might lead them to salvation. Vivian's mind wandered to the stories that had drawn them to this God's-forsaken place. Tales of immortality, of power beyond measure, of freedom from the curse of eternal darkness that plagued their kind. The Crimson Maw, it was said, held secrets that could change the very nature of their existence, but the price of entry was steep, and many had perished in its swirling depths. A sudden lurch of the ship snapped Vivian back to the present. The current was growing stronger, pulling them inexorably towards the monstrous whirlpool. "All hands on deck!" she roared, her voice carrying over the howling wind. As her crew scrambled to their stations, Vivian felt a mix of fear and exhilaration course through her undead veins. They were committed now, for better or worse. The Scarlet Banshee plunged forward, the first act of their harrowing journey into the heart of the Crimson Maw about to unfold. The Scarlet Banshee creaked and groaned as it was drawn deeper into the Crimson Maw's embrace. Vivian gripped the ship's wheel, her knuckles white with tension. The swirling vortex of blood loomed ever larger, its roar drowning out all other sounds. Finn barked orders to the crew, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. Vampiric pirates scurried across the deck, securing lines and battening down hatches, their movements a frenzied dance of survival. As they ventured further into the Maw, strange phenomena began to manifest. Ghostly apparitions flickered in and out of existence, echoes of ships and crews long lost to the crimson depths. Faye watched in fascination as words began to form in the swirling blood, ancient scripts that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. She frantically scribbled notes, her quill flying across parchment, desperate to capture these fleeting revelations. The pressure increased as they descended, threatening to crush the Scarlet Banshee like a tin can. Ash's reinforcements groaned under the strain, and he raced from one leak to another, his tools a blur of motion. The air grew thick and oppressive, tasting of iron and despair. Some of the younger vampires began to panic, their eyes wild with fear. Vivian's voice cut through the chaos like a whip, her unwavering resolve bolstering the crew's courage. Suddenly, a massive tentacle of solidified blood erupted from the maelstrom, crashing down upon the deck. Vampires scattered, narrowly avoiding being crushed. Vivian spun the wheel hard to port, but the tentacle wrapped around the mainmast, threatening to tear it from its moorings. Finn leaped into action, his cutlass flashing as he hacked at the bloody appendage. More tentacles emerged, grasping at the ship and its crew with malevolent intent. As the battle raged, Vivian noticed something extraordinary. Where the blood touched her skin, it seemed to be absorbed, filling her with unprecedented vitality. She felt stronger, faster, more alive than she had in centuries. Looking around, she saw the same transformation occurring in her crew. Their eyes blazed with newfound power, their movements becoming more fluid and deadly. The Crimson Maw was changing them, evolving them into something new and terrifying. With a fierce grin, Vivian steered the Scarlet Banshee deeper into the heart of the whirlpool, determined to uncover the full extent of this dark gift. The Scarlet Banshee plunged deeper into the heart of the Crimson Maw. The world outside reduced to a swirling vortex of blood and chaos. Vivian stood at the helm, her body crackling with newfound energy. The transformation had taken hold of the entire crew, their forms shifting and adapting to the intense pressure and saturation of blood. Finn's skin had hardened into a crimson carapace, while Ash's fingers elongated into razor-sharp talons, perfect for repairing the continuously mutating ship. As they descended, the very fabric of reality seemed to warp around them. Time lost all meaning, moments stretched into eternities, then snapped back like overstretched rubber bands. Faye's eyes glowed with eldritch knowledge as the secrets of the universe unfurled before her in streams of blood. Her laughter, tinged with madness and ecstasy, echoed across the deck. The vampires were evolving beyond their wildest dreams, but at what cost to their sanity? Suddenly, the ship burst through into a vast, cavernous space at the center of the moor. An island of crystallized blood rose from a sea of churning plasma, its surface dotted with the wrecks of countless ships that had come before. At the island's peak stood an ancient obsidian altar, pulsing with dark energy. Vivian knew instinctively that this was the source of the moor's power, the key to their ultimate transformation. With a wordless cry, she ordered the crew to make for the shore. As the Scarlet Banshee approached the island, they were met with resistance. The animated remains of fallen vampire pirates rose from the blood-soaked sand, their bodies twisted and mutated by eons spent in the moor. A fierce battle erupted on the beach, with Vivian's evolved crew pitting their new powers against the grotesque guardians of the altar. Finn led the charge, his hardened body deflecting blows that would have shattered normal vampires. Ash's talons tore through the enemy ranks, while Faye's newfound knowledge allowed her to predict and counter every move of their foes. Vivian fought her way through the chaos, fixated on the altar. As she ascended the crystalline steps, the world around her faded away. The altar pulsed in sync with her own heartbeat, calling to her. With trembling hands, she reached out and placed her palms on the obsidian surface. A surge of unimaginable power coursed through her body, threatening to tear her apart. Vivian screamed, her voice harmonizing with the eldritch energies of the moor. In that moment, balanced on the knife edge between destruction and transcendence, the true nature of the Crimson Maw's gift began to reveal itself. The surge of power subsided, leaving Vivian gasping atop the obsidian altar. As her vision cleared, she beheld her transformed self. Her skin shimmered with an opalescent sheen, veins pulsing with luminescent blood. She felt the weight of eons pressing upon her mind, filled with knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. Below, the battle on the beach had ceased. All eyes turned towards their transfigured captain. Vivian raised her arms, and a wave of energy rippled outward, washing over her crew and the fallen guardians alike. As the energy touched them, friend and foe alike underwent a final metamorphosis. The twisted guardians regained a semblance of their former selves, while Vivian's crew ascended to a state beyond vampirism. Finn's carapace softened, becoming a flexible armor that rippled with every movement. Ash's talons retracted, his hands now capable of manipulating matter at will. Faye's eyes swirled with galaxies, the secrets of the universe no longer maddening, but ordered within her vast consciousness. The Crimson Maw shuddered around them, its purpose fulfilled. The vortex of blood began to slow, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Beams of sunlight, unseen for eons, began to pierce through the dissipating crimson clouds above. Vivian watched in awe as the light touched her skin, expecting the usual burning pain. Instead, she felt a gentle warmth, her flesh gleaming like polished marble in the sun's rays. A ripple of astonished murmurs spread through the crew as they too stepped into the light, unharmed. With newfound purpose, Vivian led her people back to the Scarlet Banshee. The ship had also transformed, its wooden hull now a living, organic entity that pulsed with the same opalescent sheen as its crew. As they set sail, navigating through the now calm waters of the former moor, Vivian contemplated the journey ahead. They were no longer bound by the curse of vampirism, no longer slaves to the night and their thirst. The world above would be alien to them now, a place they had long abandoned but could finally reclaim. As the Scarlet Banshee breached the surface of the ocean, emerging from the last remnants of the Crimson Maw, a new world spread out before them. The sun hung high in a cerulean sky, its light refracting brilliantly off their transformed bodies. Vivian stood at the helm, her crew gathered around her, all of them basking in the daylight they had been denied for centuries. The horizon beckoned, promising new adventures, new challenges, and a chance to redefine their place in a world they had once terrorized. With a smile that held both excitement and trepidation, Vivian set their course towards the nearest port, ready to embrace their new existence. Months had passed since the Scarlet Banshee emerged from the Crimson Maw, and the world was still adjusting to the presence of Vivian and her crew. They had made port in a bustling coastal city, their arrival causing equal parts wonder and trepidation among the populace. Vivian stood on the balcony of the governor's mansion, overlooking the sun-drenched harbor where her ship bobbed gently in the waves. The warm breeze caressed her luminescent skin, a sensation she was still growing accustomed to after centuries of nocturnal existence. Below, in the city streets, Finn moved freely among the humans, his once fearsome appearance now a subject of fascination rather than terror. He had taken it upon himself to act as an ambassador of sorts, bridging the gap between their new species and humanity. Ash had found purpose in using his matter-manipulating abilities to aid in the city's construction and repair, his skills lauded by architects and engineers alike. Faye, with her vast cosmic knowledge, had become a respected advisor to scholars and leaders, helping to advance scientific understanding by leaps and bounds. Yet their evolution came with its own set of challenges. Their heightened senses and abilities set them apart, creating a divide that was not easily bridged. Some humans welcomed them with open arms, eager to learn and benefit from their unique gifts. Others regarded them with suspicion and fear, seeing them as a threat to the natural order. Vivian and her crew walked a fine line, working tirelessly to prove that their transformation had changed not just their bodies, but their hearts and minds as well. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the city, Vivian reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The Crimson Maw's gift had freed them from the curse of vampirism, but it had also burdened them with a great responsibility. They were no longer creatures of darkness, feeding on the living to sustain their eternal existence. Instead, they had become guardians of a sort, using their newfound powers to protect and nurture the world they had once preyed upon. A commotion in the harbor drew Vivian's attention. A ship was approaching, its sails bearing the familiar crimson hue that once struck fear into the hearts of sailors. But this was no vampire pirate vessel. It was another group of transformed beings, drawn by the tales of the Scarlet Banshee's miraculous evolution. Vivian smiled, realizing that they were not alone in their transformation. As she descended to greet the newcomers, she felt a sense of hope blossoming within her. The age of vampires might be over, but a new dawn was breaking, one where their kind could walk in the light, no longer cursed, but blessed with the power to shape a brighter future for all.